Dulquer, welcome. Welcome to the show that we're calling The Bold Bunch, in which we're having conversations with actors who, in their own way, are pushing the envelope. They're making interesting choices and they're fearlessly sticking their necks out, which I feel like you have done in a relatively short career. You've only actually been working, what, 7 years?
7, yeah. This is the 8th year running, I think.
That's a pretty good record.
But yeah, I think I've been quite blessed with the stuff I've been offered, and I think I'm so stubborn about trying to push content,
right,
and making it as commercial as possible, and that's the only thing I understand. I'm like
to find that sweet spot.
Yeah, to find that sweet spot, and I might be right, I might be wrong, I might fail, but like for the most part, every time in hindsight, people seem to agree with my choices.
Right.
Maybe at release time, they're like, oh, I don't know
what
to place this film.
Right.
Yeah, but in hindsight, when you put together the lineup and everything,
correct,
people seem to be fairly okay with it. So yeah.
You know, at the trailer launch of the Zoya Factor, a journalist asked you if people advise you on how you should navigate your career in Bollywood, and I thought you said something that was quite wonderful. You actually said, you said you've had people wanting to give you advice from the start of your career, but your response tends to be, thank you, but let me figure this out myself.
Because I mean, who is to tell, right? I mean, you're giving me advice based on past records,
right,
or past trends, or and I'm sure we can read that ourselves. But when I started out, I didn't know what I would be good at, or
right,
like what my sort of identity would be, or like how I'd create any kind of niche for myself, or how the audience would see me, if they'd like me. Like my biggest fear, I'd be like, can they watch me for 2 hours? I used to keep asking like all my close friends, like, you like me and you hang out with me, but like 2 hours on screen, don't you think it's a bit much? And so those are the things I was figuring out. So like if you tell me in the beginning of my career, no, you have to have a big launch and you have to tackle the whole commercial, big hero kind of films, and I'm like, I still don't see myself there. So I'm like, I really just want to figure this out. And I love my dad for that. I love my family for that. They've never told me, why don't you do this, why don't you do that? You know,
I was going to ask you that. I mean, given where you come from, given the family that you come from, I would imagine that the advice is kind of coming all the time.
But the fact is, like what my dad says, even he has no idea.
Right.
He's like, I had no mentors. Nobody told me how I should go about it, and I still don't know. He's like, I've had years, even now, many years into my career, where a lot of choices have gone wrong. And then again, another year comes and it all kind of, bounces back. So I don't know what is right, what is wrong. But figure it out and make your mistakes. And I feel like you might have an aesthetic or some kind of like idea of the films you like.
Right.
And now to the point that like if somebody comes with advice, that even they're like, no, just let him figure it out. Right. It's reached that, which is great.
You know, Dulquer, we first met last year. It was just a little before Carvaan came out, actually. And of course, I've been a fan of the work. I had seen Bangalore Days and Ustad Hotel specifically. But what I remember taking away from meeting you that first time was, I remember going back and thinking, wow, this guy really loves cinema. Right. I remember you talking very passionately about wanting to make the best movies that you can and greedy for the best roles that were going around. Yep. And I remember you also saying that if at the end of the year, you felt that your film was not among the best films of the year, you really, it kind of affected you. You
I've not made the right choices.
I find that kind of drive, that kind of ambition, it's a bit rare, certainly to be expressed. It's almost like, a lot of the younger Bollywood actors sort of give off a more kind of laid back, we like to make the movies that we like to watch kind of vibe. It feels almost like expressing drive and ambition is sort of not very popular.
I don't know, but I mean, I also make that statement. Right? A lot of the times they're like, when I get the choices right, they're like, oh, how do you pick these movies? And I'm like, I just pick the movies I want to watch.
Correct.
Like I hear a script and I'm like, oh, is this a film I'd want to watch? I'd go to the theaters. I'd choose that. So I understand where that answer is coming from. But also I feel like we come from smaller industries and genuinely we're quite blessed, where all of us have work, all of us have been given, are able to make sort of space for ourselves.
Right.
But I feel like with the bigger industry, there's more actors. So I think it's trickier for them, because to kind of carve your own sort of branding or identity or type of cinema or type of actor that you are, I think it's harder here because there's this, come on, this is like where the whole country kind of flocks to.
Right.
If I'm in Kerala, I'm competing with others from Kerala.
Right.
It's a small state. And we all can kind of, an actor could be really good at action and he can go in that direction. Somebody can be good in very sort of parallel cinema. So all that is possible.
Right. So I mean, I just wish there wouldn't be a shyness or a reservation to saying that one wants to.
The thing is, it's so hard in this industry to know where you're going next. It's so difficult, and it's sometimes. So all I can say is when I make that statement, I'm saying at the end of the year.
Right.
So those who are saying this, maybe it's hard for them to figure out which direction what is going in.
Sure.
And you can never tell what works.
Right.
All of this in hindsight is great.
Sure,
You know,
correct,
so-
correct. You know, as an actor, you've spoken about being greedy for the best roles, but are you keen also to put out material? Are you keen? You know, I feel like in your industry, in the Malayalam film industry, Prithvi Raj has directed Lucifer,
yeah.
or Fahad Fazal has just produced, among other
Kumbalangi,
things,
yeah.
Kumbalangi Nights. You've just announced that you're going to be producing as
Yeah.
well. Is that something that's important to you to also
Always, like
extend
I
yourself beyond
these
an
are-
actor?
Yeah, these are things I've been thinking about for a very long time. Like I used to think it was so cool when like Plan B, Brad Pitt's
Right,
company,
yeah.
got an Academy Award for
Correct.
like 12 Years a Slave.
That's right.
And I was like, that's so cool. Like it's not like they had to star in this film, but they're pushing great content, and they're still a part of it, you know. And so suppose I'm doing Hindi and Telugu and Tamil, and I'm away from Malayalam, and then I see all these amazing films that are being made. I hate not being a part of it.
Right.
In whichever way. Like I bulldoze my way literally into Parava. I said, Sobin, if I'm making this film, I feel like I'm making something really interesting.
Right.
If there's something for me, let me know, you know, or I want to be like executive producer or something, you know, you have to make me part of this film. He's like, you know, I was going to come to you. There's this cameo, I don't know if you do it. I said, no, I'll do it, let me hear it, sort of thing. And so that is my drive. That's been there for a long time. But I've been kind of trying to figure out a good team to put together because I want to be able to handle it remotely.
Right.
You know, because I keep doing different stuff in different industries.
Right.
I don't. I have to have a team that I can trust to not just with finances, but also to meet the aesthetic and to put together a good film, which I think now I've kind of figured.
But you
out.
have just produced a film, haven't you? Or
Yeah,
it's-
so I've done a small film.
Uh-huh.
We're yet to announce the title. It stars Jacob Gregory, who's acted with me in several films.
Yeah.
And it's a very, it's a cute idea. I really like it. It's very true to the films of older Malayalam films
Right.
from the late 80s, early 90s. So I'm hoping that we can appeal in that sense to the audience.
That one you're not in yourself.
No, I'm doing a small cameo, like which is like a just like a day's work. sort of
Right.
thing, Yeah.
But there is another one. There is the Sukumaran Kurup film.
Yes.
Which has been announced.
That's been announced.
This is a film that the director has been wanting to make for a few years apparently.
Yeah, I think almost. I think when he first, Srinath Rajendran, he made my first film.
Yeah.
So I guess he was a debut director then.
Correct.
This is too big a film to attempt
Start
at that
out
time.
with,
yeah.
right.
And he's been talking to me about it since then. So I'm like, hey, what are you doing next? He's like, I want to do this. So I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty heavy. And I wasn't even, I didn't even have the courage to do it then.
And he, I mean, we really should put into
So
Sukumaran Kurup
he's
is
Kerala's biggest fugitive.
right.
He's someone who's never been caught. And he...
Didn't he fake his own death
He
to
faked his
claim
own death
insurance?
to claim insurance. And this is the thing, like growing up, we've all heard this urban legend.
Right.
So there are a couple of these criminals that you hear of, and these things are very big in the West,
Yeah.
in America.
Right, the Wild West and yeah,
and like
yeah,
all
outlaws.
the Unabomber
Right.
and like so all of these famous criminals like the Ted Bundy and all
Right.
this stuff. So we had a few. So like Kerala had Sukumaran Kurup. I remember when I was growing up in Chennai, there was a guy called Auto Shankar who was his auto driver, who used to kill people and then like sort of bury them in like construction sites, like into the walls and so like crazy things like that.
Right.
And so these are things that kind of like freak you out, and they kind of like put as you kids to kind of like put some fear into you to behave.
Right.
So you're like not trusting of everyone and things like that. So I feel like of my generation, everybody's heard of this guy. I don't think this generation has any idea of who this is.
Right.
And it's a tricky subject. I don't want to glorify this
Sure.
man.
Right.
But
How'd you get into the head and under the skin of someone that's that fascinating, but also like you rightly said,
But it's very cool. Like, so when we went into sort of researching about him and went to his hometown and stuff, a lot of stories came out about him. He's done something like this before as well.
Right.
So that came out. There are stuff that, and for some reason, people there don't exactly hate him, which again was interesting. They're like, if you want to come here and sort of like poke your nose about this business,
Right.
the townspeople or like the locals aren't exactly. They're cooperative, but they're almost defensive about
Right,
it.
right.
So it's tricky and it's like an interesting screenplay. I don't know, where it'll go, but like I feel like I want to attempt something like this, and
Right.
it's a good film. I'm trying to put it together aesthetically nicely and cast it nicely and really try and produce it well. But let's
It
see.
feels like some of the best work is coming out of Kerala actually, the Malayalam
We're definitely going
industries.
through a good.
Yeah, I mean, Kumbalangi Nights, I mean, have you
Lovely,
seen it?
lovely.
Yeah,
I
how-
love the
how
film. I love everything.
wonderful.
So the funny thing, so Kumbalangi is a place.
Right.
Now, to somebody in North Kerala,
Yeah.
or towards the south, towards Trivandrum, they might not even have any idea where
Right.
Kumbarangi is.
I didn't till I watched
So
it. Yeah.
it's very close to my house. I have shot there, so I know where it is.
Right.
It's full of backwaters. It's full of like fishing communities and like prawn farming and stuff like that. So and they placed it there, and it's a dysfunctional family.
Yeah.
And which is
Four brothers.
yeah, and which is very you see it in American films.
Right.
You see different parents and
Right.
like kids from different parents and all getting together.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I love that all of that kind of got addressed in this film.
Correct.
Amazing music,
True.
so beautifully shot. Yeah. So
But you
that's
know
the thing. So when I see that, I'm like, I'm not there, in that zone.
What I think is wonderful is that that film, which would have easily sort of stayed a Malayalam film and for that territory, has actually broken out since it landed up on Amazon Prime. I mean, and I
Forget
think
that. Even in Kerala, it did numbers,
Right. So it's going
which
beyond.
is so
yeah,
encouraging.
yeah. But that's true. I feel like that's true. It's happening a lot. I mean, it happened with your film Mahanati as well, right?
Right.
Because
But
it's a
Mahanati
Telugu film.
still had a. It was pitched fairly commercially also.
Right.
Like
No,
they had good music.
I mean, the
and,
box office, sure, but the fact that it was discovered by sort of non-Telugu
Right,
speaking
right. Yeah,
audiences.
yeah, that's
It's funny because it's ironic because this was always the conflict, right? How do we make these films that are that are regional films,
Yeah.
which is almost a bad word, of course.
Yeah.
Tamil films, Telugu films, Kannada films, Malayalam films. How do you take them outside? How do you make
Yeah.
them accessible or available to? And it's not the big screen. It's not remaking them. It's not dubbing them. It
Yeah.
turns out that the OTT platforms are actually doing that.
Great, because I mean, and that is one way. But I also think it's so important for the films to stay true to
The world that
they're from, right?
yeah.
I mean, you can't. If you're telling a story, it has to be based somewhere.
Correct.
And so that's when I find it. I love the fact that it was viewed as a Telugu film.
Right.
That it was viewed as a story from this woman's journey from Andhra
Right.
to Chennai and all that.
I love that film. I've
Yeah,
told you
me
many
too.
times.
No, and
I
see,
also think
I'm
you
very
were so
proud.
good as-
I'm very
as
proud that
Gemini
the film
Ganesan,
has done
yeah.
well. I'm very proud of the awards it's got.
Correct. Two national. I
And-
mean, best.
Absolutely. So now I'm like, okay, that year went off okay.
Right.
I was a part of one of the best films.
Right.
So and I have to crack this every year,
Right.
which is tricky.
Because this show is called The Bold Bunch, I'm going to ask you: is there a key decision that you feel like you made in your life, in your career, that has contributed directly to where you are? It could be a film choice. It could be it could be an ethic. And I feel like it is. I feel like films like Charlie and Solo, which are sort of some worked, some didn't, but unusual, original. The pursuit of unpredictability is in my opinion what makes you bold and brave. But is there a decision that you regard?
There were a few things like, and I've been fighting this. Like every time people come to me, and sometimes it's close friends or family friends or big directors or big names. I don't ever want to do a remake.
Right. Yeah, you have resisted that, right?
I don't ever. Oh God, I'm suddenly going blank. I didn't want to do bilinguals. I was dead against that.
Right.
And I don't want to reprise any of my father's roles
Right.
in any of his films. I don't want to do sequel, prequel of any of his films.
Right.
These three things I was very sure about.
Okay.
But the whole bilingual thing, I feel like the business changed. So that somewhere I had to kind of like compromise. But that also I've kind of understood which cultures match.
Right.
Now I feel like Tamil and Telugu can match with each other. I don't think Malayalam and Tamil match.
Right.
I think they have to be specific to their region. So that exception I've made. And now I'm always fighting the remake exception and fighting the remake or sequeling one of my dad's movies or remaking one of them or touching classics. So these things, and I've just been like original stuff, original content. I'm like, were you are you putting together a film just to package it, or are you inspired?
Is it a story you really
I
want
keep
to tell,
looking for that, and I feel like that for me is fail-proof. I feel like that is a good intention. You are trying to say something real and honest and original, and then if that doesn't work or not, I'm still okay.
Sure.
I don't want it to be shot down because we were just making a movie for the heck of it.
Right.
Yeah.
You've spoken about how nobody in your family, yourself included, actually thought that you'd be an actor. You've spoken about how, in fact, the incident I remember you telling me was your grandmom, who was like very surprised that this is what he's chosen to do.
Yeah, even to this day.
Even at family weddings, you've said that you were the guy who was dancing in the back rows. You were never like in the
I
front.
probably wouldn't even dance. So like, I don't, until I danced on screen, I don't think my extended family had ever seen me do any of this.
Right.
So they're just like, and they'll watch and they'll literally look at me if I'm watching it with them. They're like, I would have never thought you'd do any of these things.
So how did that guy become the guy who's so comfortable on screen and who the camera clearly loves?
I don't. So when I was watching your interview with Prabhas, I so connected to that. He's really shy.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. I mean, like maybe we get to hide behind these characters. And one thing that I realized, so like my first few films, I was like, oh my god, I'm so nervous. I'm so shy, and I'm so like, I have all these like demons in my head about being my dad's son, and I have to perform. I can't force myself to perform well, right?
Right.
Like because you're only thinking about performing well.
Correct.
You're not thinking of the performance or like what you're feeling.
Right.
And that's what you mess up. And I used to think everyone can see right through me, and I feel like I'm naked. I'm like exposed to all these people. There's 200 people on the set, and they're all looking right through me. They're all just trying to finish the day and go home.
Right.
Okay. And so over time, I've realized.
Correct. That wisdom comes with time.
Yeah,
right?
it comes with time, and then like what you realize is like, and people are like, but you look comfortable on screen. I'm like, really? And I'm like butterflies, and I'm dying there, and I'm like, okay, so they can't tell.
Does that still happen?
It's still, I mean, there are days.
Right.
But nowadays, what I've realized that I don't invest so much energy into that that freaking myself out before a shoot,
Right.
which used to happen when I started out, because of all the pressure I felt.
Right.
It wasn't voluntary, but like it just used to happen. So now I think that's gone. So I just go in and I focus on what I'm going to do, what the guy is thinking, what the character is, what the lines are,
Right.
what the setting is, and then I think I forget everything else.
Is there a character from the ones that you've played? Is there a character that comes closest to reflecting who you are in person, or just feels most like what you're like?
I definitely think a lot of the stuff that I got in the beginning of my career had a lot of me in
Bangalore Days.
Bangalore Days, Ustad Hotel.
Right.
Ustad Hotel to this day, because I'm very close to my sister.
Right.
I have this really close.
The whole relationship with the
yeah,
cousin. Yeah.
Then like my family and all this stuff. So like, I knew Faizi. Like when my director, so Anjali told me the idea, and then my director was like, this kid's kind of like this. He's from there, and he walks around like, so he just did something. Like he got up and sat or something. He did some body language thing, and I'm like, I know that guy.
Right.
So and I feel like that to this day, I'm so grateful for that film. If the people in Kerala accepted me, took me into their homes, and to this day when that movie plays on screen, all else is forgiven.
Right.
Like if I've done a bad film, or my movie hasn't worked, or I haven't been had a release in a while, this will come on screen, and they're again reminded of that.
Right.
And so I think definitely Ustad Hotel. But even like when I did Neela Akasham, that motorcycle film, there were things in that family that I could connect to, and that character, that friendship, the bond with the boys thing that I could connect to. Bangalore Days, I mean, like, again, he's from a broken home, all that I didn't get, but like that bond with the cousins.
Right.
I
Just
got
the sort
that.
of laid back
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah.
Were you surprised or disappointed that Karvan didn't, not a lot of people went and watched that
Right.
film when it came out. I'm one of those actually who really liked it. I
Yeah.
enjoyed the sort of laid back vibe. I thought that it, the relationships really worked. I felt like they were all three very charming performances. I thought the music was lovely. I thought Avinash Arun's photography of Kerala was just beautiful.
Fab, yeah.
I wanted to take that road trip. I mean, sure, the writing could have done with a little more urgency, but were you surprised? Were you disappointed?
No, I wasn't. As in, I think
First Hindi film and all that?
No, I don't want that baggage of. First of all, nobody here is waiting for me to come and make a splash. Okay, I'm not delusional. I'm quite realistic in that. But like, I'm like, hey, I'm taking some time off from Malayalam and Tamil, which are my co-industries.
Right.
And if I'm doing something here, what I've realized is everywhere. Like when I said an Ustad Hotel warmed me to the audience.
Yeah.
Or like an OK Company did that for me in Tamil.
Right.
Mahanati did that for me in Telugu. So I am still pursuing that. So if I'm doing something in Hindi, is it a good film? Will the film outlive me? And and that's the only way actors will get noticed.
Right.
The film is the hero. So I love Karma for the idea it was. I love that it had Irfan and all those things that you said. But I always knew it's not a very commercial pitch.
Sure.
It was never mounted that way. And even for RSVP, they're all like, we don't know. But we feel like it's a lovely story that needs to be told.
Right.
And we're not going to really pitch it heavy because it's not that kind of a film.
Right.
And I'm very aware of that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's nice that it exists, that it's available for someone to want to see if you're in the mood for it, because it really is one of those kind of
films.
films.
And sometimes like it's like a small holiday film, right?
That's true.
Like when you watch a film like The Holiday or Eat,
That's
Pray,
right.
Love.
Right.
These are like getaway films
Correct.
that you can sit and watch. So I feel like Karman's that zone, and I have no regrets. I have no disappointment. I think it got the kind of viewership. Maybe it could have been more in the cinemas, but I love that
it has a life
on
of its
OTT.
own on OTT,
I still get messages from it. I've made some amazing friendships from that film.
Nice.
Some amazing bonds from that film. It was really great to see I think I got to see people from a different side of Bombay.
Right.
So I've been here for acting school, so I've seen the struggling actors, doing this course. I've seen the yuppies and the professionals of mine who are not from film.
Right.
I love that side of it. I've seen the film families.
Correct.
I'm close to all of them. So for me, when I did Karma, like it was mostly kids from theatre and that background who were now making this movie.
Right.
So, and I love to like discover, I love meeting new people, and like, just having those kind of discoveries are very fulfilling. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for these incredible choices. I feel like it's wonderful that you sort of put the focus back on the hard work and on the sort of pursuit for just great parts and great films.
I think that's the only thing that you can know.
Right.
I don't think any of us has cracked the magic behind hitting the box office or cracking the national award.
True.
You can only
just
keep doing, and then it'll happen.
Looking forward to lots more. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
for being on the
Rajiv.
show. Thank
So
you.
lovely.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.